story. This is like one of these Sephardic stories, beautiful stories. Listen to this story. Once there was a big rabbi, his name was Rabbi Avraham. I imagine the story was a true story, but it doesn't exactly say the names, at least where I read it. I think I read it in the book, which is called Ahavat Shalom, right? Anyway, so there was a big rabbi, Rabbi Avraham, and he was one of the advisors of the king. And the bishop hated him. The bishop hated him. The bishop was also an advisor of the king. And he hated this Rabbi Avraham, hated him, couldn't stand him. First of all, he was a Jew. He didn't like Jews, but especially because he was a Jew that was in a competitive, or at least that's the way he saw it, a competitive position with this bishop. The bishop was the advisor, and Rabbi Avraham was also the advisor. And sometimes the king would take advice from Rabbi Avraham and not from the bishop. Anyway, the bishop hated him, but the bishop couldn't do anything because the king loved him. So the king couldn't come and, try to say, you see what Rabbi Avraham did, what this Abraham did, he couldn't, because the king loved him and he depended on him for good advice, and he gave him good advice. So the this Rabbi Avraham, the bishop worked out a plan. What was the plan? That he would convince the king to send this Rabbi Avraham to a certain city for a certain purpose, to give him a message, whatever the message was. The king wrote some sort of a message to give to the mayor of this other city. And the bishop came to Rabbi Avraham and gave him the king's message and said, the king wants you to go to this city. It's a city that's like 3 hours ride away. And go there and give this to the people of the city. There's a message to the people of the city. But the yeah, and when you get there to the city, give them this message, and give them this message, and that your job is done. But he switched the letters, and inside of the letter that the king wrote, instead of that, he gave him another message, and the message said, "Did you do what the king ordered?" That's what it said. Did you do what the king ordered? Right. He gave this letter to Rabbi Avraham, and Rabbi Avraham was supposed to go the next day, but the bishop went in the nighttime, and he traveled to the city, and he told the people over there that if anyone comes here with a message, did you do what the king said? You have to take that person and throw him into a fiery furnace. Get the fire going now, and if you do that, you will be absolved of all of your sins. Everybody sees the bishop says, not a hard thing to do. So what does he think the bishop says? He's thinking Rabbi Avram is going to go in the morning. He is going to travel to the city. He's going to give him this letter. Did you do what the king said? And they're going to throw him into a furnace. And I'm going to be rid of him. So it worked. It worked. At least the beginning part worked. The king gave him a letter. He switched the letters. He gave it to Rabbi Avraham. Avraham was supposed to, early in the morning, set off to this town to his death. He was going to go there, give him the letter. The letter says, did you do what the king said? And the people would throw him into the fire. Okay, so Rabbi Abraham starts off in the morning. He prays in the morning, and he starts off and he rides like the wind to this city. But on the way, he's going to the city. So after about an hour and a half into the way, so he sees somebody standing on the road trying to stop him. Stop. He gets closer. He sees it's a religious Jew. So he stops the carriage. He says, can I help you? I'm in a big hurry. I have to go. He says, listen, we got a big problem over here. My wife just gave birth to a son. I said, wonderful, mazel tov. Okay, now let me go. He says, no. we only have 9 people, and we don't have anyone to circumcise. We don't have a mohel. A mohel is a person who knows how to circumcise a child. We don't have a mohel. And I want to circumcise my child 8 days old. So it so happens that this Rabbi Avram, he is an expert mohel, and he loves the commandment of circumcision. The reason I'm telling the story is because that's this week's Torah portion is Tazria. That's where we get the commandment of circumcision from. So it says, so Rabbi Avram says, listen, the fact is I happen to be a mohel. I can circumcise the child, but I'm in a tremendous hurry. So I'm willing to stop. I'll circumcise the child, but you have to promise me that I'm going to circumcise this child, and then I'm going to go because I have to go. I say 100%. Whatever you want, we'll promise we'll pay you money. So I don't want any money. I just want the commandment. Let's go. They go and they prepare the child. It takes a little while. Preparing the child, let's say it takes 15 minutes to prepare the child. And they prepare it for the child, and they get them all ready. Everyone's all ready. And they circumcise, makes the blessing, circumcises the child, and everybody's happy. And the child is bandages, puts the bandages on, places the circumcision, and everyone's happy and says, thank you very much. No. So this, the father says, I'm so grateful to you. You have no idea. I'm just crying. Please, could you just stay with us? We're making, there's a meal. It's a commandment to make a meal after a custom, a very strong custom, to make a meal after the circumcision. When you stay, he says, listen, I can't stay. I'm going to tremendous 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We'll just wash for bread, and that's it. And so he says, okay, 5 minutes. So he washes for bread and he sits down. Of course, 5 minutes is not exactly 5 minutes. And they start singing. They make a couple of chayams, and they ask the rabbi to speak. And all of a sudden, he looks at his wife and says, I've been here for an hour. An hour. I'm shirking my responsibility. I have a responsibility to the king. I got to go. So they say, okay. So they say the blessing after eating. And Rabbi Avram gets back into his carriage, and he starts going. Meanwhile, back in the palace, the bishop is saying, I wonder if it worked, if they did what I said that they should do. I would really like to see this Abraham burn. Maybe I can just see one of his shoes burning. Go over there and read. So he said, no, maybe I shouldn't go. Maybe I should go. Finally, the bishop says, I'm going. I even know a shortcut. I know a shortcut to the town, and I'm going to get there, and I'm going to see how they're burning up this Avram. He doesn't know that Rabbi Avram delayed an hour and a half. And his shortcut just enables him to get there instead of 3 hours to get there in 2.5 hours, right? So he gets on his horse and he drives like the wind, the bishop, and finally he gets into the town and the people are there. Oh, the bishop, and he said, did you do what the king said? Did you do what the king said? They said, that's it, that's him. They take the bishop and they throw him into the furnace. An hour later, Rabbi Avram comes. He says, I have a very important message from the king. And everybody says, what is it? They open it up and it says, did you do what the king said? They said, Rabbi Avram said, what does it say? What does it say in the letter? So he says, did you do what the king said? He says, so what's so bad about that? So we just burned the bishop. What? You burned? What did you do that for? He said, because he came here yesterday and he said that whoever comes and says, did you do what the king said? Actually, he didn't say it. He said it had to be the letter. I guess we got it a little bit wrong, what the bishop said. So it ends up that he realized what happened, Rabbi Avram, that because he stopped for the circumcision and he delayed so long, and his love for the doing this commandment of circumcision that's what saved his life. And the whole thing became revealed to the king, what an evil person the bishop was, and the Jews lived happily ever after, at least for a couple months, until the new anti-Semite popped up. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Thank you very much for coming. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.